In the ancient world, gods did not rule with kindness alone. They ruled through fear, punishment, and absolute power. This is Shadows and Gods, where myth reveals the darkness behind divinity. The gods were not always kind. From the gleaming heights of Mount Olympus, they looked down on a world they had created, not with pride, but with disgust. In the age of mortals, an age that would become known for its cruelty and corruption, humanity had become a failed experiment. They had forgotten why they were made, their hearts twisted with greed, jealousy, and hate. Zeus, king of all gods, his patience worn thin, was about to face one final, horrifying insult that would be the last straw. This single sacrilegious act would convince him that humanity was a blight that needed to be washed from the face of the earth. This is the story of how Zeus unleashed a world-ending flood, a cataclysm of divine wrath meant to erase his creation. And it's the story of two lone survivors, tasked with a strange and monumental mission to restart the human race by throwing stones over their shoulders. Before the flood, before Zeus's rage boiled over, was an era of darkness. According to the ancient poets, this was the end of the Bronze Age. The golden race that came before, who lived like gods without sorrow or toil, was long gone. So too was the Silver Age. Now, humanity was just a shadow of its former self. This was a time when wickedness spread across the land. Ever since Pandora, the first woman, famously opened a forbidden box, all the evils of the world had been let loose into the mortal realm. Greed and violence became the currency of human interaction. Men coveted their neighbor's land, brother turned against brother, and children showed no respect for their parents. The sacred law of hospitality was shattered. Strangers were met not with kindness, but with suspicion and hostility. The very fabric of society was unraveling. From his throne on Olympus, Zeus watched this decay with mounting fury. Humanity, the creation his cousin Prometheus had so lovingly crafted from clay, had become disobedient and arrogant. They were so consumed by their own petty squabbles that they forgot the gods who ruled over them. Prayers went unsaid, and the smell of sacrificial offerings, once a sweet aroma to the heavens, grew faint. The gods were being ignored. And for a being as proud as Zeus, this was unforgivable. His anger wasn't just about pride. It was a deeper sense of betrayal. Prometheus had championed humanity, even stealing fire to give them a spark of civilization. For that, he was chained to a mountain to suffer eternal torment. Yet the very creatures he sacrificed so much for were proving themselves unworthy. They used their gifts not for wisdom, but for cruelty. Zeus began to see humanity as a plague. He decided the only solution was to wipe the slate clean and start over. The question was no longer if he would act, but how and who would give him the final excuse he needed. The final straw for Zeus came in the form of a mortal king named Lycaon, the ruler of Arcadia. Lycaon was a man whose cruelty was legendary, embodying the absolute worst of the age. Hearing tales of this king's impiety, Zeus decided to see this wickedness for himself. He descended from Olympus, disguised as a weary traveler, and made his way to Lycaon's palace. When he arrived, Zeus gave subtle hints about who he really was. The common people, sensing a divine presence, began to pray, but Lycaon just mocked them, his mind already churning with a blasphemous plan. He would test this god to see if he was truly all-powerful. A fair experiment will prove the truth, Lycaon declared. That night, Lycaon set his horrifying test in motion. First, he plotted to murder Zeus in his sleep, but his second act was far more monstrous. Lycaon took a hostage. Some versions say it was his own son, Nyctimus, and had him slaughtered. The king then had the flesh cooked, some of it boiled and some roasted, and served it to Zeus at a grand feast. The moment the gruesome meal was placed before him, Zeus knew. The king of the gods, who had come to test humanity's wickedness, had been served human flesh The sheer sacrilege of the act sent him into a divine rage, unlike any seen before. This wasn't just disrespect, it was a violation of the sacred boundary between gods and mortals. It was all the proof Zeus needed. In that instant, Zeus unleashed his fury. With a single gesture, he brought the palace down in flames with his thunderbolts. As Lycaon fled into the countryside, his punishment began. His screams turned into howls. His fine clothes morphed into coarse gray fur. His arms and legs twisted into the limbs of a wolf. Zeus had transformed him into the first werewolf, a creature whose bloodthirsty nature matched the savagery in his heart. Shaken and disgusted, Zeus returned to Olympus. The test was over. Humanity's fate was sealed. Ascending to the heavens, his divine form still crackling with rage, Zeus wasted no time. He called a council of the Olympian gods. As they gathered, he recounted the horrors he'd witnessed, presenting Lycadon's monstrous feast as undeniable proof that humanity was corrupt beyond saving. The sickness, he declared, had infected the entire world. A few of the gods grew alarmed, not for humanity, but for a more practical reason. If all mortals were destroyed, who would be left to honor them with sacrifices? Zeus dismissed their worries, assuring them he would see to the creation of a new, better race of mortals once the current one was gone. His mind was set on annihilation. His first impulse was to unleash his mighty thunderbolts and simply incinerate the world. He hesitated though. In some versions of the tale, particularly Ovid's, Zeus feared that such a massive fire could blaze out of control, reaching high enough to set the heavens themselves on fire. He couldn't risk destroying his own domain, so he settled on a different method: a great flood. Water would wash the world clean, but to ensure the deluge was absolute, he would need the help of his brother Poseidon, ruler of the seas. Zeus would command the sky to release endless rain, while Poseidon would unleash the fury of the oceans from below. Together their power would be unstoppable. The decision was made. The Bronze Age of man would end, not in fire, but in water. While the gods plotted, one being saw it all coming. Chained to a desolate mountain, the Titan Prometheus, whose name means forethought, endured his eternal punishment. But even in his torment, he could see the future. He knew of Zeus's plan and refused to let his entire creation be wiped out. His gaze fell upon his son Deucalion, a just and righteous man. His wife Pyrrha, daughter of Prometheus's foolish brother Epimetheus, and the infamous Pandora, was equally virtuous. They were devout worshippers of the gods, perhaps the only two mortals worth saving. Through a vision or a whispered message on the wind, Prometheus gave Deucalion a grave warning. A great flood was coming. He instructed his son to build a large wooden vessel and to stock it with enough provisions to survive. Heeding his father's warning, Deucalion and Pyrrha set to work. They labored in secret, constructing the vessel that would be their only salvation. It wasn't a grand ship filled with pairs of every animal. As in other flood myths, most sources say this vessel was built for only 2 people. As they sealed the final planks, they knew their survival and the future of humanity itself depended on it. Then a strange stillness settled over the land. Zeus put his terrible plan into motion. He commanded Boreas, the north wind, to be locked away and unleashed Notus, the south wind, whose wings dripped with rain. Heavy black clouds blotted out the sun. The goddess Iris, usually a messenger, was tasked with drawing moisture from the earth to feed the storm. And then, the sky broke open. Rain fell not in drops, but in torrents. The assault didn't just come from the sky. Zeus called upon his brother Poseidon, who struck the earth with his trident, splitting the ground open and releasing subterranean waters. The river gods were urged to break their banks, and the sea itself rose, crashing over coastal cities and surging inland. Soon, there was no difference between land and sea. Fields, forests, and villages were swallowed by churning water. People scrambled for high ground, but the waves pursued them relentlessly. For 9 days and 9 nights the storm raged, a symphony of destruction orchestrated by the gods. Tossed on this endless ocean was the small vessel carrying Deucalion and Pyrrha. Inside, they could only listen to the roar of the water and pray. Though they knew the flood was a punishment from Zeus, they never cursed his name. From high above, Zeus watched them. He saw their piety, even as their world was being destroyed. For all his fury, he couldn't bring himself to destroy this one devout pair. After 9 days, as his anger began to fade, Zeus gave the signal for the destruction to cease. As Zeus's rage subsided, he allowed the north wind to blow once more. Pushing the clouds aside, he signaled to Poseidon, who ordered his son Triton to sound his conch shell. A deep, resonant note echoed across the world, a command for the waters to retreat. The raging rivers slowed, and the sea pulled back to its shores. Slowly, the world re-emerged. But it was a desolate, silent wasteland, covered in a thick layer of mud. Every city was gone. Every forest toppled. Every living creature drowned. They were utterly alone. Their small ark finally came to rest on the peaks of Mount Parnassus. Deucalion and Pyrrha stepped out onto the damp earth. The silence was heartbreaking. Seeing the sheer emptiness of the world, they wept. Unsure of what to do, their piety guided them. They made their way down the mountainside to find the ancient sanctuary of the goddess Themis, the titan of divine law and prophecy. Kneeling before the mud-stained altar, they prayed. They didn't ask for riches, but for a way to restore the human race and end their profound loneliness. Moved by their selfless plea, the goddess answered. The voice of the oracle of Themis echoed from the shrine, delivering a cryptic command. Leave the temple, and with veiled heads and loosened clothes, throw behind you the bones of your great mother. Deucalion and Pyrrha were stunned. How could they obey such a sacrilegious instruction? Throwing the bones of their mother sounded like a command to desecrate a grave, an act that went against every pious instinct they had. Pyrrha was the first to refuse, saying she could never commit such a sin against her mother's spirit. But Deucalion, son of the clever Prometheus, paused to think. He reasoned that a divine oracle would never command them to do something impious. The great mother in the prophecy couldn't be their biological mothers. It had to be someone far older, the mother of all living things, Gaia, the earth herself. And if the earth was their mother, what were her bones? Suddenly the answer was clear. The stones scattered across the ground. He explained his interpretation to Pyrrha, his voice filled with new hope. This wasn't a test of blind obedience, but a test of their wisdom. Convinced, Pyrrha agreed. They covered their heads, loosened their garments, and began to walk, casting stones over their shoulders without looking back. It was a bizarre act of faith, their last and only hope. As the stones hit the muddy ground, a miracle began. According to the poet Ovid, the rocks started to lose their hardness. They softened, swelled, and slowly began to take on a human shape. The earthy parts of the stones became flesh, the solid parts became bone, and the veins within the rock became blood vessels. The stones cast by Deucalion became men, and the stones thrown by Pyrrha became women. A new human race was born, literally springing from the earth. This new generation was different. Born of stone, they were a hardy and resilient people, accustomed to toil. As the myth helpfully points out, their origin was forever embedded in their name. In Greek, the word for people, laoi, sounds very similar to the word for stone, laos. Deucalion and Pyrrha didn't just create humanity through this miracle. They also went on to have children of their own. Their most notable son was Helen, from whom the entire Greek race, the Hellen, would claim descent. The world was no longer silent. It was filled with the sounds of a new beginning. a tougher, more enduring race of mortals who understood that they were quite literally the children of the earth. The story of Deucalion's flood is a powerful tale of destruction and rebirth, a theme that echoes in myths from cultures all across the world. It's a universal story of a world washed clean to make way for something new. It is more than just a story about a flood. It's a meditation on sin, mercy, and creation. It suggests that even in the face of total annihilation, a single spark of goodness can be enough for salvation. The new humanity, born not from clay but from the very bones of the earth, represents an unbreakable will to survive, a testament to the idea that no matter how complete the destruction, life can always find a way to start over.